Welcome everyone, thank you for tuning in. This is the MSV podcast. Here we talk about crypto. My name is Sabi, I am your host today. Let's start. Today we are going to talk about Chainflip with Simon. He's gonna walk us through about what they are doing, what they are building. And I hope that today we are going to learn a bit about bridging, about how cross-chain works and everything to it. Simon, when you are ready, just let me know and I think we can kick it off.
I'm ready. I'm gonna have to do it on loudspeaker technology. This is always fun. But yeah, as long as you can hear me well, let's get started.
We can hear you loud and clear. So just before we start, I have a disclaimer. We don't have a DJ in the house, so no beats today. I saw your MAAs, and I have to say that your team has some amazing DJ skills. Maybe it's the best in the cryptoverse. So congrats to that.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, we did a rave at Berlin Blockchain Week last year, and I got to play for an hour there too, which was super fun. I'm not going to play this year, but we are doing another one on September 15th. So if anyone is here for Berlin Blockchain Week, come lean into our beat dropping skills.
Nice. You guys heard him. So make sure that if you can go. Now, I think we should start with a brief introduction. So Simon, if you could, I don't know, give us a brief background about yourself, what you did, what you do, about the team, then that would be amazing.
Sure thing. So yeah, hi, my name's Simon. I'm the founder and CEO of Chainflip. I guess my journey in crypto started way back when I was in high school. In 2014, I put all my web development money that I was making on the side into Bitcoin then and kept doing it. Yeah, that like pretty early, I guess. And, bought Ethereum at $1, sold it at $2, thought I was a king. And made many mistakes, but my journey started a long time ago. But I think things really kicked off for me in 2017 when I founded a project called Loki, now called Oxen, and we built a secure messaging app called Session. That's still going. We've now got over 4 million downloads, I think, and about 800,000 monthly active users, I believe. So that's been going really well over the last 5 years. That's all based on blockchain technology as well. And, that obviously taught me a lot about crypto projects in general and the general shape and structure of how to go about building teams and what have you. And the product's been pretty successful. So, shout out to them, shout out to the Session team as well. But in 2020, as you may remember, Bitcoin went down to $3,000 and,
we do remember.
Yeah. So, at the time we were a bit like, okay, what do we do now? And we were keeping our eye out for sort of things which might help the project and stuff. And I guess the concept for Chainflip arose around that time. And obviously, doing swaps in crypto is pretty essential, whether that's on a centralized exchange or decentralized exchange. And back then, Uniswap wasn't really popular either at the start of 2020. We were pretty keen on bringing swaps across chain even back then. And over the course of the following 9 months, we developed the concept a lot, wrote a white paper, but then pretty quickly realized that this was going to be a massive project. So, Chainflip spun out, and 3 years later, here we are with a working demo and token sale currently ongoing. And the mainnet launch happening in late October, if all goes to plan. So it's been a long journey to get to this point in time, but it's been really rewarding very recently seeing so many people enjoying the experience that we're trying to build, and the product, I think, will speak for itself when it hits the market later this year. So, yeah.
Well, we are looking forward to it. So Chainflip is about bridging cross-chain. That's what I understood. Any other to it? So maybe if you can just walk us through about the general, what is Chainflip?
Yeah, sure. So at this stage, most people have probably had some awareness or familiarity with cross-chain in the Web3 space. There's been a lot of bridges out there. There's been a lot of bridges hacked. Chainflip is not a bridge. That's the first thing I want to say. In actual fact, it is its own sort of swapping trading platform with cross-chain messaging and a bunch of other stuff that some of the other cross-chain solutions have. Not any of them in this way though. So I guess from a basic standpoint, how to explain what Chainflip is. There's a couple different ways of doing swaps across chain. There are actually very few protocols actually doing cross-chain swaps. What most of them are doing is bridging one asset from one place to another and then doing a swap on a DEX on that chain. So for example, if you want to go from, say, Maker on Ethereum to, I don't know, Bald on Base, right? You're not actually doing that swap across chain. What you're actually doing is swapping ETH to USD and then bridging USD and then using that USD to buy Bald on Base. So that's been the state of affairs for quite a while now, and that's okay. It's very expensive to do with gas, to do all those bridges and all those swaps. And also it's very EVM centric. So there are a few non-EVM connections to these bridges now, but realistically, we're mainly just talking about the EVM ecosystem. Meanwhile, Bitcoin, like the biggest market in the industry by far, has remained very underserved for cross-chain native swaps for a very, very long time, and many more assets besides, many chains besides. So the way that we work is that when you go to Binance or whatever centralized exchange you want, what you're basically doing is you're sending the assets you want to swap to a wallet that exchange controls, and then you do your trades on the exchange, and then you take the money that you just got, or the asset that you just got, out on a different chain. So you deposit and withdraw. We're all pretty familiar with that flow. So the way Chainflip works is we kind of have a similar thing going on. We have this big validator network, 150 validators. It's all permissionless, all decentralized, and they use something called threshold signature schemes. In our case, the Frost multi-sig scheme, to create basically a giant joint wallet so that users can deposit funds either for liquidity or for swaps or whatever. And then we handle the trading on our own application-specific blockchain called the state chain, where we've got our own AMM. So we have our own markets. We do our own swaps using this thing called the JIT AMM, which allows us to be extremely competitive with pricing. I mean, like the Binance levels of competition, just because we aggregate liquidity across all the different markets. And the net result of that is that you can natively swap BTC to Ethereum in one transfer with basically index pricing and very, very low gas fees. So using this sort of generalized architecture where we're not doing any swaps on chain, on the expensive chains, that is, we're not doing swaps on Ethereum. You can't do swaps on Bitcoin. We've built this whole architecture to sort of generalize away the trading aspect of this to make it extremely efficient and extremely competitive. So Chainflip is not really a bridge. It's more so a fully native cross-chain DEX, I guess you could call it. People have different mental models about how they want to explain and understand things. So I get it. It might be a little bit hard to wrap your head around just talking about it. But if you go to the demo, you can get a sense for how it actually works. That's sort of a high-level description of what we're doing here.
Well, you dropped some technical words there, which probably I don't understand some of them, but I think I have a grasp on what you just explained. You mentioned in your MAs that the Ethereum gas is, I think this is like a common problem, right? I mean, everybody is crying about the Ethereum gas fees, especially when everything is going up or there are lots of transactions. And you said that on Chainflip, Ethereum gas fees, when bridging, will be 10 times more or something like that. So this is due to the technology you just mentioned in your system?
Yeah, exactly. So there's a good way to sort of talk about what's going on in the background, right? So when you do a swap on Ethereum or a bridge on Ethereum, you're paying a lot of gas to interact with these different smart contracts. So if you do a Uniswap, for example, you're paying the gas to do all the calculations on the trade and like actually swap the tokens and all that kind of stuff. And then you pay again to interact with a bridge contract where you're sending all this verification information, all this metadata and stuff, all this call data, which adds up really, really fast. So I don't know what the exact prices are now, but for your average swap then bridge move, it's been pretty typical to cop between $30 and $50 in fees just on the gas from Ethereum, and you haven't even got to the other side yet. Haven't even
Painful.
considered slippage. So it's very painful. And like, we're in a bear market, right? I remember doing uni swaps that cost $500 in 2021.
Yeah, 100%.
So, it is very expensive. And I guess the benefit that we have is the only thing you pay for in gas is to just transfer tokens into our vault. There's no call data, there's nothing like that. So you end up paying, I think it's about 6 times less to bridge it. Well, not bridge, but to deposit into Chainflip for a swap than you would to just do a Uniswap, not even including bridging. So it's an architecture that means that, you're essentially just paying to move tokens from one place to another. And then on our back end, in our protocol, on our validated network, we do all of the complicated maths and stuff on the state chain. So you don't have to pay for it to get your swap through. So I think that's a huge advantage. And it's something that the other cross-chain solutions really don't have. I think that's going to be a major advantage. So we're going to be able to get the gas costs way down and make the overall swap way more competitive as well, especially considering the prices on the swaps.
Well, I do hope that this will help with onboarding, and maybe it will have new users as well, because now obviously, and this will probably repeat for the next couple of cycles, that when new users come into the cryptoverse, they use centralized exchanges, right? Even considering what happened before with FTX, I mean, it's like oversaturated story. But I do think that still, until now, even some of the experienced users are using centralized exchanges, right? So do you think that they go for centralized exchanges because of convenience or maybe marketing, or what do you think? Why that is the first stop before they even try or check if there are any DEXs, or maybe they don't even know about the decentralized part until they get into the rabbit hole?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure most people in the space at the moment definitely have strong awareness of the stuff going on chain. I mean, you just look at Uniswap's numbers, right? They've been beating Coinbase on volume consistently. I think the reality is it's not like centralized exchanges are not convenient. I don't know if you've used one lately, or if you've had to KYC or anything like that, or you've had your funds, whatever, because they want some additional verification or whatever the hell's going on. But there's nothing convenient about using a centralized exchange, unfortunately. It's getting harder and harder. And
not anymore.
So it's not that. It's not that, in my opinion. I think that Uniswap proved that if you can get the prices on swaps, so like the swap rate, the slippage, and all that kind of stuff, if you can get that down so it's about as good as a centralized exchange, then people just start using it, and they like using their own wallets. They like self-custody. Of course, there's probably a large group of users in Web3 that will never do self-custody, and that's fine. But I think most of us at this point do, because most of the opportunities that people are chasing right now can only be accessed on chain. There's a limited amount that you can actually do on centralized exchanges. And the other thing is, if you want to do like a Bitcoin swap, for example, there's very few options to actually do that anywhere but a centralized exchange. And, there's some challenges there as well. So I think there are a lot of reasons why centralized exchanges remain a dominant solution. And I think as soon as we can give users access to just as many assets as they would normally find on a centralized exchange, we can give them pricing that's competitive with centralized exchanges. And we can make it much more convenient because there's no verification, there's no chances of getting your funds locked up or anything like that. I think if we can achieve that, then I think the case for staying on chain and doing all of your trading on chain becomes very, very compelling. But I think that, like, in terms of the adoption question that you were alluding to before, I mean, the reality is that I can't take my, 1,000 euros or whatever and put that directly on chain. I have to go through somewhere, and that somewhere is a centralized exchange 99% of the time. So everyone starts there. It's everyone's starting place. And I don't think that's going to change anytime soon. But I do think the options for traders who are doing stuff on chain is going to get a lot better with us, and is still improving all the time with new aggregators, better aggregators, better wallets as well, more tight integrations. We're seeing more and more protocols being used in more and more places. MetaMask has been steadily expanding the services that they offer, along with other major wallets as well, XDeFi, so on. Trust Wallet, the list goes on. So I think like a lot of these popular products that people are using are getting these integrations with aggregators, they're getting these integrations with bridges and so on. And that's really opening up access. And I think that is really what's going to drive the adoption of on-chain trading, so long as the offerings are competitive. And I think that's the key question here. You know, is the swap good? Is the gas acceptable? Is the speed fast enough? You know, does it feel safe? There's some big questions there, and you know, some do it better than others. And I hope that we can add to that story as well.
Yeah, 100%. I think you put this very well, and these are the big questions which need to be answered. If I just may add to that, I remember when at the peak of the bull run, maybe just after Bitcoin crashed, I remember that all the centralized exchanges were stuck. Okay, they just froze because of the number of transactions. And Uniswap, I think, handled like $2 billion worth of transactions in 24 hours or something like that. So I think that is a big win for on-chain transactions as well. Okay, going forward, maybe just to answer the convenience and the simplicity, how Chainflip's interface will look like, how the users will interfere with Chainflip, how they will use it.
Well, if you go to demo.chainflip.io, you can do a swap right now between the testnet, Bitcoin testnet, Polkadot testnet, and Ethereum. We've got a few assets on there as well. We've had 10,000 swaps on it today. So we've got some improvements in mind, but rather than me talking about it, I think it's always good if people want to check it out. So I'd recommend that. But generally, like, there's a couple different ways that you would interact with Chainflip. One is through some other service, right? This is sort of our key go-to-market strategy. We know it takes a long time to build up a user base for our own swapping interface. And so, one of the things that we're really confident in is being competitive in the cross-chain aggregation space. So whether it's Squid Router, OpenOcean, Jumper from Leaf Finance, or some service like that, many of which are now getting integrated into all these wallets as well. So when you hit swap on MetaMask or whatever, you can get these cross-chain options, and that's somewhere where we want to compete. That's somewhere where we want to play as well. And so, yeah,
This space was downloaded via spacesdown.com. Visit to download your spaces today.
And messaging as well, we're very composable with all of these protocols, and that makes it very simple for these aggregators to recommend us as a part of any given swap route. So many users that end up doing a swap through Chainflip probably won't even realize, or may not have to realize, that we are a part of that process, or we are that entire process for them, which is really exciting and really cool, because generating that volume, generating those fees on the protocol is really what we're all about, and where we see a lot of the value in our ecosystem coming from. So that's a big one. But then if you do come to our own interface, we also have like all the APIs and stuff, so you can integrate it yourself or whatever. But for the average user, if you go to the Chainflip swapping app or another one that someone's built, you have a lot of options of how you want to interact with it, right? It's like people are used to just like connecting a wallet and then doing whatever, but that doesn't really work when you're doing like a Bitcoin swap to Ethereum, right? You're not going to connect your Bitcoin wallet and it's just clunky and horrible, or Solana wallet or whatever the hell it is. So we've designed a very flexible system. It's a unique system. No one else has built this, where we have these things called deposit channels or swap channels, where essentially we generate, when you request a swap, we generate a unique deposit address that's tied to the main vault. And if you send any amount of funds to that deposit address, we'll swap them for you to whatever destination you want it. So you don't have to connect a wallet or do anything like that. You can, obviously, if you want. But this system allows us to be extremely flexible, right? Like, you can withdraw straight out of Binance into one of these deposit channels, and it will be swapped for you into whatever you want. So
that's interesting.
Yeah, I mean, that was part of our design from the get-go, right? And it was inspired by Shapeshift, the original Shapeshift, which was something you could do a very similar sort of thing, but when they turned on KYC in 2017, it sort of fell away a bit. But this idea of just like, okay, if I send money to this address, it'll be swapped into what I said, is very powerful and very flexible as well. So And, if you want to get more advanced as well, the SDK allows you to have more complex interactions. So if you're a dApp developer, let's say, for example, I run an NFT marketplace and I want people to be able to buy my NFT through from some other chain. Like, let's say I'm running it on Solana, but I want to allow people to buy my NFT with Bitcoin. You could do that through the Chainflip SDK. You make a cross-chain messaging call, and then we can make that all happen in one seamless transaction. So there's a lot of possibilities. But at a basic level, we've tried to design it in such a way where if you've never used a cross-chain swapping service before, and you may be familiar with something like Uniswap, then it's very intuitive, very easy for you to figure out how to do this. And we try and give you as many options as possible without overwhelming you. So, making
That's
that
nice.
balance is difficult, but yeah, the options are there and it's designed to be very, very flexible. So yeah.
Yeah, I think that's huge, and it's very important. I don't think that for a day-to-day user, who's not a developer or who's not working in the crypto sphere, who just wants to swap their tokens, it's important that they don't need to know what is happening in the background. They just know that, okay, this is the interface. I send it here, I get it back, wherever I want it. So I think that's a nice idea. And yeah, simplicity is one of the most important things. Before we go forward, I just want to mention that we will also have a Q&A. If anyone has questions, then please just write it in the comments, or you can ask to be a speaker, and you can ask Simon yourself at the end of the interview. We will admit you. So yeah, keep that in mind and prepare your questions. Okay, let's go forward. You will also have TGA for your own token, because you have your own token. Can you tell us about that? How the launch is going to go, and maybe how the public can participate?
Sure thing. So we have this thing, the Flip token. Great name, I know. Where that's basically used it's basically used for validator auctions and validator collateral. So our network, our validators, they're securing a whole lot of liquidity. So we need that economic security. Got a proof of stake, proof of authority system in place. And there's a auction that runs every 7 days, I think is going to be the plan for mainnet, where essentially they have to compete for those 150 limited slots. There's also liquid staking products as well that are coming out for Chainflip. So if you don't want to run a validator, you can still get exposure to those rewards. But that's sort of the main utility. There's also some like app chain gas stuff, but that's not really a major component, I would say. We also use the Flip token as a means of distributing value across the ecosystem. So we have an automatic buy and burn system. Every time there's a swap that goes through, we buy USDC and swap it into Flip and then burn that Flip. So we can do that because we run our own exchange, basically. And so this is all automatic. This is all permissionless. There's no foundation involved or whatever. It's just happening from day one. So that's a bit about the token itself. The TGE happens in late October after we've launched the mainnet. So the validator auctions will be live straight away as soon as the tokens are distributed. And right now we're running a sale on CoinList, but the registrations have been open for a few weeks now, and they close on the 28th. So there's only a few days left, and things are looking pretty good. But that's been really exciting and like kind of anxiety inducing as well in these market conditions. But the TGE itself won't be until October. So to get involved,
everybody hurry up.
Yeah, hurry up. The sale itself takes place on the Thursday, but you need to have the registration in by Monday for it to be eligible, basically. So I definitely recommend doing that. There's still priority queue spots available, although they're running out very quickly. Through the swapping demo, there's a Galaxy campaign that you can do there if you're interested in that. Obviously, we want to encourage as many actual Chainflip potential users as possible to gain access to the sale. If you're interested in that, I'm sure someone will drop a link, but you can check out the Twitter as well. So that's
yes, and also the demo link is in the comments right now. So if you are interested, feel free to check that out as well after the interview, obviously.
Yeah, you're going to have to do the demo to get the Galaxy O. So why not both?
Yeah, sure. Okay, just a bit about the tokenomics. I saw on Twitter that this is coming up again. People are interested about supplies, total supply, circulating supply, how much is vested. Can you walk us through in a couple of words how the tokenomics is planned for the Flip token?
Like as in the distribution, like what are we talking about here?
Yeah.
Well, we did a strategic round back in 2020, 2021. So, we've got lots of private investors that invested over $19 million into us. That's helped us build this thing over the last 3 years. And most of them are on a validator lockup. So actually a lot of the tokens on day one don't become available immediately at all. I think the circulating supply is about 22 million out of 90 million. So yeah, there's a big dynamic here because there's going to be a lot of tokens available for staking into validators, but not liquid on the market. So yeah, I think it's going to be really interesting to watch. We've designed the token economics in such a way, like comparing it with other protocols, that we think is going to be very competitive. And the bidding wars in the beginning will be very interesting to watch, just given that the APR at the start is going to be super high just because, there won't be much token staked. So proportionally speaking, just mathematically, you'll have, quite a healthy rate of return. It'll be very interesting to see the dynamic between, all the various different participants, be them strategic investors, validator operators, staking providers, so on. The liquid staking product, I think, is going to add a huge dynamic to this as well, with all of the liquid tokens that are out there. But yeah, the unlocks, you can see on the token page, like the full breakdown. It's pretty complicated, I'm not going to lie. But yeah, general vibe is like, we didn't want to do one of these like setups where we tried to have like a $2 billion FDV and have like, 100 million float. I mean, that's just,
I think that scares away people, to be honest. So I think this is nice.
There's like most of the projects that do that, like they launch a product that have no users to begin with. They have no real product market fit, and I guess there's just a huge incentive there for sort of bad play in the markets. And we've seen over the last few years that pretty much every launch that has tried to do that has almost without fail come way down after launch. So we didn't really want to do that. We could have done that quite easily, I think, but no, we decided against that structure. And I hope that the structure that we have works out, obviously, but I think it's really going to depend not on the TGE in the first 6 months. I mean, it's a pretty average market, but I think for the most part, it's just really dependent on whether or not our protocol ends up competing in the space and we get that volume. That buy and burn mechanism, I think, is going to be a huge component of what supports the Chainflip ecosystem and drives it to the next level once it's actually launched. So yeah, for us, although, token price and all that kind of stuff, I know everyone obviously cares about it, but I think the
product is first, right? I mean, the product should work. That's the first priority always, and price is speculation, especially at this point.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, I mean, if anyone's listening to this, looking for a quick flip from Coinlist, just don't do it, right? It's probably not going to work. A bad idea, right? This is something that we're really excited about, not over the next 3 months, but over the next 3 years. We've already worked on it for 3 years to bring this to a level that we think is going to blow the market away. And now it's still going to take a while to figure out whether or not that happens, though. Uniswap took 3 years before anyone really started swapping on it in any sort of large volumes. So don't expect miracles, basically. But I think,
of course, but
if there's another bull run that starts sort of next year around the halving again, I mean, we'll see if that happens. But if that is the case, hopefully we're really, really well positioned to capture most of the on-chain trading volumes for things like Bitcoin and native Solana, and have those gas savings available so we can even compete in the ETH USD markets and so on. So I think we're setting ourselves up for a good couple of years, but obviously still bear market vibes.
Well, if I may just add here, I do think that it will, the bull market will come, NFA for everybody, and I think you guys are in a good position. Also, regarding that, nobody used Uniswap for a couple of years. I think the situation is very different, considering educational content on social media, and people are. This is not as new as Uniswap was. Okay, this is I see Chainflip as a major improvement for to help people to save money on the transactions, especially on Ethereum. So kudos for you guys, and I do think that adoption will be faster and faster as we go forward, and obviously due to social media as well, and not only.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think the aggregation play is going to be the thing that really carries us forward. We don't even have to get people using Chainflip itself if we can get integrated into enough places. So that for the first 12 months, like that's going to be our main goal, to get integrated into as many places as possible, to continue optimizing the protocol, to get those gas costs down, to get the pricing better, to speed things up, to make it, overall the best cross-chain swapping experience out there. And then, it's basically a case of how much people want to swap. And that's really what's going to determine the level of success that we're able to achieve. So I'm excited. It's exciting to be doing something now where, the stakes are real. After working on this in a very abstract kind of way for the last 3 years, kind of speculating about what people might like or people might not like or whatever, finally we're now in a position where we're actually interacting with real users and hopefully we're able to translate that into some serious volume as well.
Of course, 100%. Okay, I have 2 more questions. So if anyone has questions, then you should write it now in the comments or ask to be a speaker, because we are approaching the end of the interview. However, I have a question which just popped in my mind, and that is about how do you choose which chains you want to implement? I guess the end goal is to have all the chains. Layer ones also, we have new layer ones appeared this year, right? For example, Optimism. What is the process to pick one, and then say that, okay, this is the one which we also want to implement?
Great question. For us, there is a limit on the number of chains we can support. I mean, we've seen this with Axelar and ThorChain and a few other projects as well. Once the validator network hits a certain number of endpoints that they've got to maintain, it just becomes really difficult and cumbersome to have a lot of them. So, we got to pick and choose where we think we can actually be competitive and make a difference. I think for chains like Optimism, it does make sense to have an L2, but the reality is every bridge under the sun has already done it. And so unless we can find a serious advantage where we're really saving users a lot of gas, or we're offering way better prices on native assets like OP, for example, then it makes sense for us to integrate. But in the case of something like, Phantom, right? The market there is pretty small and most of the liquidity is on chain for that asset. So it doesn't really make sense for us to integrate that. Doesn't really matter though, because we have these aggregator partners like Squid Router, for example. So users will still be able to get to Phantom and Avalanche and whatever other EVM assets they want to through Axelar and cross-chain routing. So from Bitcoin to Optimism and vice versa, or whatever the case may be. I think for us, where we really want to focus on is the non-EVM chains, especially the ones with a big market fit. So like, for example, like Sui and Aptos, there was a lot of hype about those leading up to their launches. But since then, there hasn't really been that much interest, at least organic interest. And so, we need to constantly make decisions about, how we invest our time. Chains like Solana, like, although there's been issues in that ecosystem, they've fed the storm very well. And we do think we can have a serious impact on the cross-chain markets there, again, for gas reasons, for pricing reasons. And so, that's an area that we really want to focus on. Cosmos ecosystem, there's some good stuff happening there as well. So that's an area that we're looking at. We've already done a Polkadot integration. So there's just no market for that at the moment. So we're creating one and we'll see what happens. We'll see if people actually want to do swaps there. So, that's the sort of math that we're doing in our head. like, is the market underserved? Is there an advantage that we can offer? How much interest really is there in it? So, and I guess this is the calculation that every centralized exchange does as well. Is it worth the integration time? Is it worth the maintenance costs? Perhaps in their case, there's also some regulatory risks and so on that they're thinking about. So, it's the same. And also, like, can we even attract liquidity to this pool? Are the market makers, are the LPs actually going to contribute and make it workable, or is this just a waste of everyone's time? So, that's the sort of thinking that we have to do to consider what comes next.
Well, I understand that this must be. I mean, this is not an easy job, and anytime something can pop up, and get maybe a hype or traction. So I guess as the bull run will start, this will also be like an ever-changing situation for you guys.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the nice thing about Chainflip is that, we don't have to build these really complex smart contracts for all these different chains. For the most part, it's all pretty similar. We have like Schnorr signature verification. Some chains we have to do a little bit of funky stuff, but we've kind of already done the major classes of blockchains, right? We have the EVM class of blockchains. We have Ethereum. We've also got an Arbitrum implementation that we've now completed. We have Bitcoin, so that covers like UTXOs and anything Bitcoin based, which is cool. We have Substrate through Polkadot. I mean, our own chain's built on Substrate. So, if anything props up in that ecosystem, that's worth doing, we can do that as well. And, the list goes on. If we continue like focusing on a particular class of blockchain, so whether it's UTXO based, whether it's account based, like what sort of signature verification it has, we already have sort of a rough framework for how to tackle all of those different types of blockchains. So, hopefully we get faster and faster at it as we go along, and hopefully that gives us the ability to, in a bull market environment, list stuff that others might not be able to in that moment in time, but still have the interest there to make it worthwhile. So, it's a good question.
Nice. Yeah. Nice, very nice. Okay, my last question is about upcoming announcements. I mean, we know that the TG is coming up, the launch of your token, but if you have anything else which you would like to share, the audience should look out for in the next couple of weeks, couple of months, which you think is very important, and maybe it's not a secret, or even if it's a secret, I mean, just leak it. It's between you and me.
Oh man, I can't do any leaking. I'll get in trouble, and then things will go well. I mean, as I said, we've got CoinList closing up on Monday, the registration. So it'll be very interesting to see how that plays out. We then have, the mainnet launch itself, the validator auctions going live, the TGE, and all of the things that'll happen around that. I think over the next few weeks, you'll see us announcing like some more staking providers, some more custodians, things like that. A lot of this stuff we just can't talk about. All of the various integrations for the Flip token out there, you're just not allowed to talk about them until they happen. So don't expect any announcements until it's already happened.
We understand.
Yeah. And then there's also like, a security audit as well. We're doing a follow-up from the massive one we did with Trailer Bits earlier this year. So that'll be happening soon as well. But yeah, the main thing that I'm excited about is the product launch and all the integrations that will come along with it. So keep your eyes peeled for that. There's some exciting things in the works with potential partners, but the existing partners that we already have are going to make this experience. I think the Chainflip front end experience is literally going to be better than anything else out there, and I'm not exaggerating. I think for anything to change, it will be unbeaten. So yeah,
but
I'm super
looking
bullish
forward to that.
Yeah.
Nice. Looking forward to that. So everybody, please follow Chainflip, follow Simon, follow us. And you just answered my last question. So I think I would like to thank you for being here, for taking the time. It was great. And I hope that we can do this again sometimes.
Likewise, man. Thanks very much for having me, and thanks everyone for tuning in as always.
Yes, thank you everyone for tuning in. We have spaces every 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, my colleagues, Naini and Peter, will have a roundtable, so make sure that you tune in there as well. And I will see you in exactly 1 month. Thank you everyone, and have a nice evening. Thanks, Simon.